I want to put together today, I want to talk to you what's between your ears. And I want to put together a bunch of little stories. So there's going to be like a bunch of short stories about things I learned on the way when I wasn't all that different in age from you that I think made a wildly difference in my life. I have a 14-year-old son who, you guys are what, 15, 16? Yeah. So I hope I know a little bit about the age. One of the things I want to talk to you about is, one of the subjects I'm going to cover is you can't find what you're not looking for. Which is to say, you can find what you are looking for. How many believe that this bottle is half full? Raise your hands. How many of you think it's half empty? Raise your hands. Oh, we got a bunch of positive thinkers today. The truth is, it is both. It is both half full and half empty. You get to pick. Because either way, you're right, aren't you? How many people are going to have a good day today? Raise your hand. How many people are going to have a bad day? Raise your hand. You're both right. Congratulations. Because just like the glass is both half empty and half full, so is your day. You just get to decide which one you want to focus on, don't you? See, I would submit to you that whether you believe you can do a thing or you believe you can't, you are right. That is a quote from Henry Ford. You've heard it. Of course you've heard it. It's the gospel. It's the truth. So doesn't it make sense to believe you can do a thing? Let me tell you a story. There was a fellow by the name of Ben Harbor, and he talked about this in his book, Rising Above the Crowd. Now let me tell you about little Ben Hooper. He was the son of a single mother at a time when that was nothing to be proud of. Today, it's not uncommon to be a son or a daughter of a single mother. But in the foothills of Tennessee, in the 1960s, that was something to be ashamed of. His school life was no good. He was ostracized by everyone in school. They wouldn't eat with him. They wouldn't talk with him. They snickered at him and they pointed their fingers. Well, when Ben was about 12 years old, a new minister came to town. And Ben had heard that the guy had a fresh outlook. He was someone you might want to learn from. He was very accepting. He made you feel important. So little Ben started going to church. He went late. He left early. You see, for the first time in his life, he had caught a glimpse of hope. So on this one particular day, he's sitting back there, he came in late and he snuck in and he's hiding kind of back there and he's listening real close and he just gets enamored in the message. It's as if this big banner above the top of the church says, "Little Ben Hooper, this message is just for you." And next thing you know, church is over and everybody stands up and they start filling the aisles and he's trying to get out and he can't get out and he's kind of caught in the crowd. And all of a sudden, he feels a hand on his shoulder. It's the new minister. And this new minister says what everyone in the town wanted to know. Whose child are you? And I tell you what, that church got so quiet. Because see, this little ostracized boy that no one would talk to, no one liked, he was different than everyone else in his school. No one understood him and no one cared. Suddenly had been asked, "Whose child are you?" And before he could answer, the minister said, "I know whose child you are. The resemblance is remarkable. You're a child of God." Wow. That's quite an inheritance you've got there, boy. Why don't you go and see to it that you live up to it? Ben Hooper says that was the day he was elected the governor of Tennessee and then elected to his second term. You see, because There's just so many things we can and can't deal with. Dr. John Maxwell says, when there's belief in the future, there's power in the present. You can live with minimal food and minimal clothing and minimal shelter, but when belief and hope is gone, the end is already in sight. I'll tell you a personal story. Does anybody remember 45 RPM records? Nobody in this room probably. They have them in museums. You can see them somewhere. Steve remembers. Well, I had a 45. I was fortunate. I was probably just a little younger than you. And I'd had someone give me this record. And I used to listen to it at night before I'd go to bed. And there was a fellow that spoke on it called Earl Nightingale. You could Google that. He does exist. He's in history now. And here's the famous quote he made that I will never forget and have lived with all my life. People in this world are complaining about their circumstance. But the people who get on in this world are the people who look for the circumstances they want, and if they don't find them, they make them. Now think about that. They go through life looking for situations that fit what they desire or what they want or their skill set, and if they ultimately at the end of the day say, I can't find any circumstance that fits where I want to be, then I'll create my own circumstance, because remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. So I thought, wow, I can be whatever I want to be as long as I manage my circumstance. Now, if you believe in this principle, then you got to ask, how much time do you spend discussing and focusing on your current circumstances, or where you are right now, versus focusing on the circumstances you want or where you want to be, like Ben Hooper. Now, I'm not sure at that age I completely understood the concept, but then came a coal miner's daughter, Loretta Lynn, who became a country music legend, or a poor old truck driver from Tupelo, Mississippi, who became the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. I started to see the equation, don't you? If you don't like where you are, change your circumstances. It's all up to you, to something that suits your mental picture where you want to be. So I guess all this proves we're not destined to end as we are, or even as we currently are. We're only destined to end where we want to be. What do you think of yourself? Think about that for a minute. What is your mental picture of you? Not your mirror picture, your picture. You see, one of the most important opinions you can have is the opinion you have of yourself, not what others think. Ben Hooper got over that pretty quick. No, it's what you think. So are you suggesting, Danny, that I talk to myself? Yes, absolutely. Dr. Joyce Brothers says that people who talk to themselves are above average intelligence. I would ask you, what's the matter? Can't you stand yourself for a few minutes? Have you ever seen your parents drive in a car and talk to someone 3 blocks away? What are you doing? Get out of the way. Stop. Have you ever seen a golfer talk to a golf ball? Get in the hole, get in the hole, get in the hole. That ball can't hear him. If we'll talk to a golf ball or a car a block away, don't you think we all spend a little time talking to ourselves? Because the conversation you have with yourself is very important. You know why? Because what you put in your mind is what you are. The mind is a huge vault of information. You can stock it with anything and everything you want. I talk to people sometimes, and don't get me wrong on this. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were telling me about football because we had the Super Bowl. They could tell you every person on every team, how many yards they'd run, how far they'd thrown the ball, how far they'd kicked the ball. And I'm sitting there going, man, you have taken a lot of time to put a whole lot of information in your head that I don't see what the value is. But to you, good for you. My point is, I don't have a clue. I couldn't tell you the teams in the NFL, let alone the players on them. Why? Because that's not important to me. Maybe important to you. My point is not what's important to you. My point is you can fill your head with anything you want as long as you decide that's what you want in your head. It could be NFL scores. It could be NFL statistics or math statistics. You can stock it with how to fix a wheel of a skateboard or how to fix the wheel of a car. You can stock your mind with how to turn on a fan or how to repair an air conditioner system. Either one's okay. See, your time in this facility is extremely important because you have all day long to put really good stuff in your mind. You know, once you leave this place, your time will be spent trying to make a living, not fulfilling what in your mind, because you won't have any time for that then. You'll be doing whatever you've got to do to survive. But right now, while you're still living at home and you still have someone kind of covering the bills and feeding and making sure you have transportation, would be a perfect time to use that free time to put good stuff in your head. See, the tools you don't get here will not be available to you when it comes to the tools of life. You're in the game now. Practice time is over. We can't learn how to catch a football once the game starts. We should have learned before we got to the game. No matter your faith, wouldn't the cruelest trick in the world be to give you the ability to dream a dream and not give you an equal ability to achieve it? That is to say, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. I'm living proof. I sit on a committee and consult with them now in St. Louis. It's Mercy's parent company. And the committee, there's only two. There's me, a guy from the CDC, and a lawyer out of LA. And we consult with them on hiring, retention, and work experience. We're responsible for over 50,000 employees. My job with them is to talk about stuff like this. You see, I know and I believe that once you get your mind where you want it to be, your body will follow. Again, I'm living proof. I told you it's a bunch of short stories. I want to talk to you about dreams for a minute. Life has always been about dreams. Think about the people who came to this country in those ships. Think about the first launch to the moon. Think about the first man who flew. You know, before they did it, it didn't exist, right? And when they believed they could do it, what happened? They did. We can't fly. Oh, yes, we can. We can't walk on the moon. Oh, yes, we can. Ben Hooper could never turn out to be anything because he's from a single mama in Tennessee. Oh, yes, he can. Not because of the outside world, because of the inside world. Dreaming of what you'll be when you grow up, dreaming of your first house, dreams of marriage, dreams of what your children will be like, dreams of what children will grow up and do and be, because dreams are all good. They give us huge hope and direction. They also give us motivation. See, with dreams, you got somewhere to go and you got a certain time you got to get there. If you want to play in the NFL, you better be ready to do it by your mid-20s, and you better be ready to get out of it by the time you're 40. Don't wait till you're 35 to make that your dream. You kind of miss that boat. Charles Schwab said, "A man can concede at almost anything for which he has unlimited dreams and enthusiasm." I would only submit to you, dream no small dreams because they fail to inspire. Benjamin Franklin. I told you at the beginning you can't find what you're not looking for. I'll explain why that works. You all remember enough in science to know you've got a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, right? Your conscious mind is the mind that is cognitive thinking. Your subconscious, and by the way, it is a filter. It's a good filter, because let me submit this to you. Have you ever driven down Rangeline in a car? Can you tell me 3 billboards on Rangeline? Did you know your subconscious read over 450? Saw every one of them. So what am I submitting to you? I'm telling you that don't always trust your conscious mind to take you the right direction, because you will go and you will end up doing whatever you believe you're supposed to do and whatever you believe you're supposed to end up at. So what I would submit to you is, why not start training your subconscious mind? And how do you do that? By dreaming. Have you ever heard that if you want something really bad, you ought to post it on the mirror where you get ready every morning so you see it every morning? And what are you doing by doing that? You're reminding yourself that I want to get a B average when I graduate high school, or I want to be on honor roll, or I want to get a college scholarship, or whatever. Or I want Susie Johnson to like me. Everybody's got a goal, man. Let me tell you why that's important. Because your subconscious sees everything. Have you ever noticed when you or your family buys a new car, suddenly they're everywhere? Do you know why? Or you get a new pair, some kind of new jacket or new sort of something, and all of a sudden you go, man, everybody in town's got one of those. See, they had them the week before you got yours. You just weren't paying attention then. You buy a red convertible, and all of a sudden, now your subconscious has put it in your conscious, and what do you see? There's red convertibles all over town. You know what you had to do to get one? Wish you had it sooner. Quit waiting until you already see them. You could have had it a year ago. Is that right? Yes, that's right. We weren't given the ability to dream things unless we were given the ability to achieve them. Your beliefs, by the way, govern your actions, even when your beliefs are wrong. A person on a sinking ship, seeing the safety of land in the distance, will not survive if they refuse to leave the boat and swim to shore. That is to say, staying with a bad idea won't make it right. Keeping your bad attitude won't make you succeed. And hanging with the wrong people, giving you the wrong ideas, will take you nowhere but to where they're going to end up, which is in the wrong place at the wrong time. You see, that reminds us that we are who we are because of choice. And doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, is insanity. A couple of hippies had an idea of a computer operating system shunned by a huge corporation known as IBM, because IBM's view of the world, their perception, their mindset was that consumers would never be able to own a personal computer. By the way, I lived through that era. Today, the dreamers have a higher net worth than the bureaucratic corporation. IBM should have swum to shore. You know, if you don't take a different route home when you leave here today, you won't see anything different. If you do the same thing tonight you did last night, you know what your results will be? Exactly what they were last night. You want to have a half full glass tonight? Do something to fill the glass. Don't be satisfied with failure. I have 3 recommendations as I leave you. Get your mind right. And no one can do that except you. Not your parents, not your preacher, not your teacher. The biggest single factor in your life today is the element of change. It affects everything you do and accelerates every week, month, and year. You have no control over change. You can only have choice regarding it. So my question to you is, are you going to be a master of change or a victim of change? Is your glass half empty or half full? Pick one. You going to be a creator of circumstance, or are you going to be a creature of circumstance? Pick one. In 1905, William James of Harvard said, "The greatest revolution of my generation is the discovery that individuals, by changing their inner attitude of mind, can change the other aspects of their lives automatically. Once you change the one, the rest will all change anyway, because you got your mind right." Number 2, dream. Don't be afraid to dream. All peak performers were dreamers. Google came from a dream. Pinterest came from a dream. The internet came from a dream, as did the computer come from a dream. So therefore, dream no small dreams. They fail to inspire. You know, it is said, average people may have hope. Leaders have vision. What one thing would you dream for if you knew for certain you couldn't fail? Henry David Thoreau once said, "Have you built your castles in the air? Good. That's where they should be built. Now go and build foundations to support them." And number 3, previous speaker touched on this. Do what you love. Let all that you do be done in love. If you won the lottery, would you quit your job if you had one? Did you know self-made millionaires today say they happen to get paid for something they love to do? They say they really don't work at all. Napoleon Hill once said, one of the keys to success, now think about this, is to find what you most love to do and then find a way to get paid for doing it. Most get that backward. My dad got it backward. My dad worked, by the way, he came to Franklin Tech. He graduated high school and went right into work, went in the Army. I remember being a little kid and him coming to Franklin Tech at night to learn some skills. He worked at Sears and Roebuck during the day, and at night he made wrought iron. He spent his whole life working, doing something he wasn't crazy about, so he could make enough money to 2 or 3 weeks out of the year do something he wanted to do. You know any parents like that? You're not destined to follow them, you know. I didn't. The proudest moment in anyone's life is when they end better than they started. Next time you seem stuck in a rut, remember those times when you broke out of the pattern, you changed your circumstances, you dreamed of a destination, and you achieved it. If we do today, or this year, the same thing we did last year, we're going to get the same results. I want each day to be better, don't you? Are you happy with where you are in your circumstance? Can you conceive and believe of something better? Therefore, taking the first step to achieving it. Life on earth is a tough teacher. You often get the test, and then you later get the lesson. Whose child are you? How the resemblance is remarkable. I know whose child you are. You're a child of God. You've been given the ability to accomplish anything you want in the world. And the only thing is, time is finite. When you succeed, pat yourself on the back and let them say that you're arrogant or confident. I've been called that. And when you see failure, be sad for them. But it's not society's fault. It's their fault. Thank you all very much.